So general connected speech rules probably are more familiar to most of you. In connected speech, what we do is simply producing a different sound when certain sounds come together. This is also called liaison. So when we, for example, have T in the end of a word, and then there's a Y sound in the beginning of the next word, we're just making a chew sound. So let me read those samples for you. Don't you know? Haven't you heard? Can't you go? Actually. So the reason why you're saying actually is actually actually there's a hidden and silent, invisible, not silent, invisible Y sound between the T and U in this word. That's why it's actually. If you look it up in a dictionary in the phonetic alphabet, some dictionaries will show a little Y letter symbol between the T and U. Another example would be S and Y when they're coming together and we're making a shoe sound. You guys all probably say insurance for the word insurance because again there's an S and there's a hidden Y. But for some of you, it might sound a little different when they hear people saying bless you or this year. So they just putting this shoe sound in these expressions as well. Bless you this year. And the last one would be D and Y. When we have a D and Y, we're making a juice sound. So you would just go and say, did you know? Would you help? Education, graduation, and congratulations. Well, again, you see D and then the U sound. Well, okay, we said that there's a hidden Y letter in the sound of these words, but to me, it's also very interesting that remember when I talked about the Y letter is actually upsilon from the Greek alphabet, and it's taken directly into the English language, and it's actually E sound. And I showed you the symbol, the lowercase symbol of upsilon. It's actually a U symbol, U letter symbol. So like uppercase upsilon is Y, and lowercase upsilon is actually U. So technically, there's a lowercase Y letter according to its original genesis in the word education or graduation, or in the word, for example, insurance, or in the word, for example, actually. It's a lowercase upsilon, and I don't know if this is because why actually we're doing this forced Y letter sound, and that's why we're actually following this connected speech rules in these words. I don't know, it's just my speculation. Another thing I like to ask about the word congratulations. There's no D in this word. Like when I look at it, I don't see a D, but I'm making a G sound when I'm saying congratulations. Why? So, why do you think so? Well, I know the answer to this time, but I want you guys to tell me what you think about the reason why we actually make a G sound of the word congratulations. Well, speaking of the word congratulations, we all acknowledge that this word is probably the bane of existence of many language learners in this country. So when I ask people their most problematic words in the English language, they always put congratulations at the top of their list. So congratulations is pronounced as congratulations, and many people just pronounce it in interesting ways. And apparently, language teachers are not the only people who are interested in the way people pronounce this word. Some people went out and asked random people on the street, and show this word and ask them to pronounce this word, and this is what they got. And now I'll share with you the guy who's my favorite among all the answers they received.
Congratulatones. Artı bu yazılım şekli zaten Yunanistanca. Latonis sonu aonis olan her şey Yunanlılara aittir.
Okay, so it's kind of good to know that I'm not the only weird person connecting everything to the Greek language. But, I'm connecting them to the Greek language because they are connected with the Greek language. So speaking of the Greek language, I will now talk about etymology. I know most of you wanted to talk more about etymology. This is at least what you guys wrote on the paper I distributed in the beginning of the semester when I first saw you. And many people said, oh, we love etymology and we want to talk about etymology. We want to learn about the roots of words, etc., etc. And this, unfortunately, didn't happen because we didn't have the opportunity to meet face to face. And this is something this etymology or talking about etymology, it just happens naturally. You know, you say a word and I say, hey, do you know what this word actually means, or do you know where this word comes from? So this is actually how it works. But since we didn't have this interaction one by one or face-to-face interaction, we don't have the opportunity to talk about etymology as much as I would like to. So for this reason, I wanted to prepare a very short speech about how etymology works and how you can actually go and discover the roots of words on your own, and how you can actually see the connected words which don't really seem connected to each other at all. Now, I'm going to pick a random word from the Turkish language this time. I'm not going to get started with Greek, but eventually I'll get to Greek. So I'll start with this word, rehber. So we're going to now divide this word into its original roots, and this word is actually coming from two different words, and one of them is rah and the other one is ber or bar. So rahbar or rahber is what this word actually means. Well, this is a Persian word, and coming from the Persian language, and rah means road, and ber or bar means to carry or to bring something. Well, Persian is an Indo-European word, so rahbar is actually an Indo-European word, and we're going to talk about the second part of this word, the bar and bar part. So this part of this word is coming from baher, from the Indo-European root. But this root, moved into the Greek language as fer or for. Well, even in today, in modern Greek, if you want to say bring it, you say fereto. So you still use the same exact ancient expression in modern Greek. So, but you will realize that there is an obvious sound change in sort of between bar and fer or for in the beginning of these expressions. Well, why did they change? Well, the original root form buher actually became bar and fer in different languages, and this is explained by what we call the Grimm's law. So what's Grimm's law? Well, this is a German guy who said there is a certain sound shift in Indo-European languages, and they shifted in a certain and systematic ways. This is actually called the first Germanic shift. I gotta double check. I'm not sure. I should have double checked before I recorded this. But if you're interested, you can just Google yourself. So that explains, for example, why the word pedad is actually father. The pedad Persian word turned into father in the English language. The P and F changed. So bh became B and P or F in different Indo-European languages, and B and P and F are actually interchangeably used in Indo-European languages. And this is specifically called separantization, when an oral stop turned into a fricative. So you have this B, but you're making it a F sound. You're turning into a fricative. So that's separantization happening in the European languages. Well, now this fer and beher and bar also moved into the English language as fer. So they just took it as they heard it, fer. So there are now so many words in the English language having the fer original root, and they all have something common in their meaning: to carry something or to bring something. Now I'll show you a list of words that are very familiar to you, and now we're going to talk about what's happening in these words actually. Take a look at these words, please. Okay, transfer, differ, prefer. It's hard to read though, like this. Suffer and conference and infer and refer and lucifer. Well, okay. Well, their spelling changed because of the great Germanic consonant shift, and their pronunciation changed with the great vowel shift. So they went through so many changes, and that's why they're not actually pronouncing with the S sound, but they're pronouncing it with the schwa in these words. So, okay, what's being carried or what's being brought in all these words? Now, take a look at their explanations. So when you're transferring something, you're actually carrying something across, or when something differs, it's actually being carried apart from where it should be or where it's expected to be. Or when you prefer something, you're actually putting something or taking something or moving something to the front among the other things. Or when you suffer, you're actually being carried under something. And when there's a conference, a bunch of people get together and they bring things together, or they carry it together, usually boredom. Okay. And when you infer something, you're bringing in something from something. Or when you refer, you're actually carrying something back to its original place. You're referring to an author, so the idea is being carried to the original author, for example. And Lucifer means bringing light. Okay, what about that one? What is the connection between Lucifer and bringing light? So that makes us question the word Lucy. Yeah, the word Lucy comes from the Indo-European root Luke, and same as with the word Luke, the name. It also means the same thing, light and bright. So think of the word leukemia. It's a type of cancer, but what kind of cancer? It's related with what? Related with white blood cells in your body. Well, so it's about white and light. And then someday, if you bump into the word leukophobia, now you will know what this person is afraid of if this person has got leukophobia. Yeah, that's better. And interestingly, in Ottoman Turkish, there was a word called lüküs, which was a device people used to light up their environment. And if you just Google the word lüküs, this is what you will see. So it's about light and fire. Well, fire, light, and Lucy and Lucifer bringing light and bringing fire. Well, what the hell, literally. Well, if you're interested, this story goes back to Greek mythology. Prometheus, the Titan who actually got the fire from the mountain, from the gods, and gave it to people. Some critiques actually say that Prometheus is just, the story of Prometheus is twisted in Christianity, and they kind of created the idea of Lucifer from the idea of Prometheus. I don't know. It's just someone's claim. So if you are personally interested, you can just search for the connections between Prometheus and Lucifer and what people speculate about this. But I can't talk more about this because it's not my field and it's just beyond my capacity. I'm not a theologist and I didn't study history of religions. So you would also remember the tendency that people had in medieval times to bring to make things look more like Greek and Latin. So they were intentionally putting letters in the spelling of words. So there are words with fed and for looking more like their original Greek spelling. For example, when you see the word metaphor, you're actually doing the same thing with the fed and becher and whatever bar. So metaphor does what? It just actually carries something beyond what? The idea in a word, obviously. Or when you say phosphor, like, phosphor in Turkish, phosphor, what's phos or fo? Like, here's a clue. Photo, right? It's another word for light. So it's actually, again, giving brightness, giving light. Or when you are euphoric, what do you carry? Well, obviously, you carry what? Do you know the word, by the way? You carry goodness, or you means good. So if a word in English, for example, starts with EU, like in the word euphoria, it means, it's something related with good. Like, for example, the word euthanasia means good death. Or hydrophore is what brings water to you so that you can use the water in your apartment. And the word Christopher, like, what do you think a person needs to do in order to be called, Christopher? Well, here's a statue of Saint Christopher in Prague. He actually carried baby Jesus. That's what he was. That literally means Jesus carrier. So knowing all these etymological explanations of words might help you understand words which might look so alien. For example, when you see this word, galactophore, okay? And if you know the etymological explanation of different parts of this word, you will know what this is. But for a regular mind, it will be like, okay, something about galaxy? Well, what's galaxy anyways? Those of you who were in the class, I think we talked about this in the very first class. Those of you in the class, who were in class in the first day will remember that galaxy actually meant something. We have the word, for example, galactic coming from the word galaxy. But then we also have the words like lactic or latte or lactose. And okay, what about what's up with all these milk related things? Lactic and latte and lactose are all about milk. And well, in the end, our galaxy is called the Milky Way anyways. Well, those people who were in class will remember that the story goes back to Hera and baby Hercules, and how Hera's milk coming out of her breast created our galaxy. So that's why our galaxy is called the Milky Way. So obviously the word galactophore is not related with anything related with galaxy or space, but it's actually about milk. So galactophore means it's an expression they use to describe the milk carrying parts in organs of mammals. So it's about carrying milk. Well, okay. Well, knowing the etymological background of words can also help you and your students with pronunciation of the words, because like when I tell my students that the word bear, to bear, actually is the same thing that whatever they're saying in the end of the word bear, they stop calling this word or pronouncing this word as beer, because many of my students just say beer for the word to bear. But I'll tell them, well, it is the same thing that you do in the end of the word bed. So it should sound like bed, not beer. So they actually correct it, and they remember it because it makes sense to them when they actually conceptualize that idea, that it actually means something, and they actually use it in a different form in their own language. So, of course, speaking of their own language, in the Turkish language, there are more examples of fer or for. Next time when you're saying teleferik or peygamber or kalorifer, you will know that they are all carrying or bringing something. Well, just by looking at one single word, we were able to talk a lot about so many different words, which potentially seem totally irrelevant, but they are all related to each other. So I hope you start looking deeper into words, not just for fun. I mean, it's fun. I like it. But it also teaches you a lot, and it actually tells you that all languages are somehow connected and related. Like I said, words tell more than you see. Thanks for watching. Bye.